Granny Greensocks, flying backwards through a world of delusion towards truth. I was watching the BBC News last night, and the presenter was referring to Donald Trump's new health secretary appointee, RFK Jr., as a vaccine conspiracy theorist. No, a vaccine denier and a conspiracy theorist. That was how his name was introduced. Donald Trump is going to introduce into his government a vaccine denier and conspiracy theorist, who is an utter crackpot, obviously. Shock, horror. Now, I got rather indignant about this free use of these pejorative terms. What is a vaccine denier? I mean, they also interviewed an American apologist for RFK who was saying the American Health Service is overseeing quarterly vaccinations of school children. 4 times a year they're being vaccinated. Against what? I have no idea, but it sounds quite horrific. They're introducing foreign substances into growing children's bodies, probably with very little evidence that it's more efficacious than not doing it in preventing widespread disease, because there aren't that many diseases that are that terrible. Like, there were a few that we had earlier in the last century: measles and polio and smallpox, and a couple of other ones that vaccines were developed against, and they were tested extensively, and they were felt to be useful and effective. And it's like the whole health drive has been towards, we must attack every single possible illness with a new vaccine, and we'll develop all these vaccines and we'll keep pumping them into children until they burst, it seems to me. Now, I think you have to apply common sense to the development and delivery of vaccines. Are they necessary? Are they really effective? Have they been tested a lot? And I'm not a mathematician, but I have had it explained to me so that I momentarily understood it, that the way these things are presented, the percentages, the statistics, are skewed so that it makes them look really good and necessary when in fact they may not be. So now what I want to come to is the latest vaccine that has been, well, they called it a vaccine. I'm not sure it is a vaccine. It's a, let's say, intervention that's been foisted on as many populations, as vast numbers of people all over the world, which has been promoted as being safe and effective in preventing transmission of this particular disease and in stopping people from being hospitalized. Turns out it was neither of those things, but nobody will admit to it. They keep wanting to deny it. So who here is the vaccine denier, I'd like to know. The thing about science is it involves testing things and challenging things and finding the ultimate truth. If you're just going to decide that something is safe and effective and push it on populations without presenting proper proof, and it has turned out that there was no proper proof, it was just a money-making exercise, then it's not science. And all through that epidemic, every day we were glued to our televisions to hear what the triumvirate in the cabinet was going to present us with, because they were supposed to know, but it turns out they didn't really know, and they were not consulting enough scientists to be justified in saying they were following the science. So anyway, I, like a lot of people, was taken in. There were people who saw it with clear eyes and were not taken in and refused strenuously to have any part in this mass medication program. And so I went and got my shots as directed. I got the first one, I got the second one, and then against my better judgment I got a third one because they were so insistent. Note to self: when somebody supposedly in authority is really insistent about something, push back with equal insistence. So anyway, now, 2024, I find myself with a dangerously high blood pressure, and It may or may not have anything to do with the clot shots. But in 2020, my blood pressure was normal, and it had been normal all my life. I never had an issue with this before. And as I said in the previous video, I eat well, I don't drink very much, I don't smoke at all, I'm a healthy weight. There's absolutely no reason I can see why I should be developing high blood pressure in this period between 2021 and 2024. It went up gradually all this time, but it did post-date the shots. And I've been hearing that people have had a lot of side effects. You have to wonder whether side effects are actually the main effect of the thing when you hear all these stories. Young men, young fit men, have been dying of myocarditis or being disabled for life through impaired heart function. Bodies in the morgues have been found to have huge, strange clots in their, I don't know if it's the veins or the arteries, possibly both, which never used to be there before. You have this story from the morticians who noticed it and reported it, and the powers that be refused to have anything to do with it and told them to shut up. So, as well as all these fairly major looking results that can be linked to these new interventions, who knows how many minor results there are that could be fairly drawn out over a number of years by the accumulating effect of all those interventions. So with me, I was looking back at photographs I'd taken of myself, and I had some strange things happen to me during this period, not just my blood pressure going up, but other things, and I'll show you the pictures I have. So here's where I got an inflammation in my eye. All I did was rub it with the back of my arm. I got this pricking sensation, and then it started to swell up, and the inflammation spread down the side. This was a similar thing. I got a little tickle on my nose, and I rubbed it with the back of my arm. I got an actual blister forming there, and you can see the puffiness of my cheek next to it, and it went down to my lip, and that's puffy too. This was a thing I got on my arm. You can see there's a spot, almost star-shaped, and my arm is red and inflamed below it, and the actual site of the spot had like a very hard patch underneath it. It's almost like I got a vaccination there, isn't it? And then you can see it developed into a blister. I've never had anything like that before, just from an insect bite, and it didn't itch, it just hurt and swelled up and got inflamed. I'll tell you what it most reminds me of. The one time, many years ago, when I got a smallpox vaccine. It came up with a blister very similar to that. On the 6th of June 2023, I got bleeding in the sclera of my right eye. It looks horrific, it didn't hurt. But then, 6 days later, on the 12th of June 2023, it puffed up again. It's inflamed. You can see how the cheek is puffy because the wrinkles have disappeared if you compare it with the left side. That gold thing is just the thing I use to breathe when I sleep. This is another bleed, a year later, the 10th of March 2024, that was. How many times is it going to do this? So all these strange events are related to circulation and inflammation, and they're unusual. I never had anything like that before, which is why I photographed them at the time. I'd forgotten I'd had so many of them. But I have read that a lot of women have had bleeding problems after the clot shot. So I can't help but suspect these are also related. And how many more things have people been getting that they kind of thought were a bit strange but didn't think they were strange enough to take to the doctor? And going back to the blood pressure thing, that might well have happened from a different cause, and I am hopefully getting investigations to find out if there is a cause for it. So anyway, while there's life, there's hope and all that. And I'll see you next time. Bye.